out the principal's window. Across the street, the bare branches of the tree were black against the cement gray sky. The rain came down in a steady drizzle, and after a few minutes I saw Papa's cab turn the corner. His cab is green, the color of lime, and he always washes and shines it. I watched Papa park and get out of the cab. His shoulders are very broad underneath his brown leather jacket, and Papa has a powerful walk, like a large, strong horse that plows fields. He walked briskly, and as he came up the steps of the school, he removed his driver's cap. It seems like 1,000 years, but it was only a minute before Mrs. Illo brought Papa into the office. Nurzan and I stood up when he entered, and he didn't look at us, only at Mr. Shanneman, who shook hands with him and motioned for him to have a seat. Papa sat across the desk from Mr. Shanneman and placed his driver's cap in his lap. We have asked Maya to translate, Mr. Alazova. Yes, Papa nodded. When he heard my name, he understood what Mr. Shanneman meant. Your son, Nurzan, was involved in quite a nasty fight. Papa looked at me, and I said to him in Russian, Nurzan was in a little fight. Mr. Shanneman continued. The other boy, Osinizono, needed 2 stitches at the hospital. The other boy, Osinizono, was a little hurt, I told Papa. Nurzan's eyes became wide as he listened to the translation. We have a policy that anyone who fights must be suspended from school. Both boys will receive a 2-day suspension. The other boy is very bad, I translated for Papa. He is not allowed to come to school for 2 days, and his parents must punish him. Nurzan must stay home too, but he should not be punished so much. Papa nodded. Then Mr. Shanneman said, We've been told the other boy was teasing your son. We'd like you to help Nurzan find ways to handle the situation without resorting to violence. We're working with the other boy to help him show respect for all students. I looked at Papa and translated. The other boy was teasing Nurzan in a violent manner. This boy will be punished and must learn to respect all students. We understand how Nurzan became so angry, and we ask that you punish him by not allowing him to watch television. Yes, I will punish my son as you suggest, Papa said in Russian. I looked at Mr. Shanneman. My father says he will teach Nurzan not to fight by giving him a very serious punishment. We're glad you understand the serious nature of the situation, Mr. Shanneman said. Then I told Papa in Russian the exact words of Mr. Shanneman. Mr. Shanneman held out a form on a clipboard. We require you to sign this to show that we've discussed the suspension, and you'll keep Nurzan at home until Monday. Again, I told Papa exactly what Mr. Shanneman said, and Papa signed the form. He said nothing as we left the school and followed Papa to his cab. Nurzan and I sat in the back, not daring to speak. There was a small rip in the leather of the seat, and I poked my finger in it. The cab smelled of perfume. Maybe Papa's last ride was a lady who wore a lot of it. It smelled like a kind of flower, but I couldn't remember the name. I wished so much I was in a beautiful meadow right then, surrounded by sweet-smelling flowers, lying in the soft grass, looking up at the clouds. I tried to calm myself by thinking about this meadow, but I just kept feeling scared. Scared Papa might somehow find out I had changed what Mr. Shanneman said. Maybe I shouldn't have felt bad about changing Mr. Shanneman's words, but I didn't. I only felt afraid. I don't mean that I think changing words like that is okay. I have to admit, it's sort of like telling lies, but I think maybe some lies are okay. Like in the play we read last semester about Anne Frank, and how the people who were hiding her family lied and said no one was in the attic when they really were. They lied to save Anne's family from the Nazis. Maybe I wasn't saving Nurzan from death, but I was sure scared to death of what my Papa might have done if I hadn't changed the words. I stared at the back of Papa's thick neck. It was very red. He drove in silence until he pulled up in front of our building. Papa shut off the engine. Then he put his arm across the top of the seat and turned his face, craning his neck. His dark eyes narrowed, and his voice was severe. I'm ashamed of this. To come to this school and find you in trouble, Nurzan? This does not seem like much punishment to me, this no watching television. You will go to bed tonight without dinner. He clenched his teeth. I have lost money today because of you. And Maya, You must keep your brother out of trouble." Then he waved us away ferociously, like shooing away bugs. "Go now, go." We went into the kitchen, and Nurzan marched straight to the table in the kitchen with his books. He seemed to be in such a hurry to do his work, he didn't even take off his jacket. "Take off your jacket, Nurzan, and hang it up." "Okay." I began peeling potatoes for dinner while Nurzan hung up his jacket. Then I sat down at the back table. "Maya, Don't talk. Do your work." "But I missed the gymnastics meet because of you." "Watch the knife." Nurzan looked scared. I glanced at my hand. I was holding the knife I had been waving and been waving it without realizing it. "I wasn't going to stab you, stupid boy." "I was only going to say thank you." Nurzan looked glumly at his book. I went back to peeling potatoes. I'd had enough of him and his troubles. "For changing what Mr. Shanaman said when you told Papa," he said in a timid voice, like a little chick peeping. "It's okay, Nurzan," I said. "Just do your work." A few minutes before 6, we heard Mama get home. She came straight to the kitchen, and when she saw Nurzan sitting there doing his work, a smile came over her tired face. "Oh, what a good boy, doing his work." "Not so good, Mama. Nurzan got in trouble." I didn't mind having to tell her his bad news too much, not like when I had to call Papa. Then I explained about the fight and how Papa had to come to school. "Oh, my poor little one." Mama rushed to Nurzan and examined his hands. Tenderly she touched his face where it had been cut. Then she turned sharply toward me. "Maya, how could you let this happen?" "Me? I wasn't even there." "On the bus, when this boy is so bad to Nurzan, you must make this boy stop." "No, Mama," Nurzan explained. "He would tease me more if my sister spoke up for me." "I don't understand this. In Kakistan, if someone insults you, they have insulted everyone in your family, and everyone must respond." "It's different here, Mama." Mama looked sad. She sighed deeply. Then the phone rang, and she told me to answer it. Mama always wants me to answer because she's so shy about speaking English. When her work calls, I always speak on the phone to the women whose houses she cleans, and then translate for Mama. I translate their exact words, not like Mr. Shanaman. But it wasn't Mama. It was Shannon, and her voice was filled with worry. "Maya, why weren't you at the meet? Is everything all right?" "Everything's okay. It was just Nurzan," I explained to her about what had happened. "I hope I can still be on the team. Miss Koo is cool. Don't worry. It won't mess anything up." Shannon was right. The next day at practice, Mrs. Koo was very understanding. Practice was so much fun, I forgot all about Nurzan, and Shannon and I were very excited because Mrs. Koo said we were going to get new team leotards. After practice, we were waiting for the activity bus, talking about the kind of leotards we wanted, when 2 guys from the wrestling team joined us. One was David Pfeiffer, and the other, who Shannon talked about all the time. Oh, she always said that he was so cute, and that he was awesome, and incredible, and things like that. She was often laughing and talking to him after our practice, and I think she really liked him. And today, he was with Daniel Klein. "Hey, Maya, how was practice?" "Hi," I smiled at Daniel, but then I glanced away, pretending to look for the bus because talking to guys outside class always made me feel embarrassed and shy. The guys came right up to us. David smiled at Shannon. "Wrestling practice was great. We worked on our takedowns and escapes, and then lifted weights. How was your practice?" "Fun. We spent most of it on the beam." "I'm still pumped from weight training." David grinned around and picked up a metal trash can by the gym door. He paraded around with that can, then set it down with a bang right next to Shannon. Everyone was laughing. Then David bent his knees and bounced up and down on his heels and said, "Check this out, Daniel. Am I strong or what?" The next thing we knew, David had one arm under Shannon's knee and one arm under her back and scooped her up. Shannon squealed and laughed, and I was laughing watching them, when all of a sudden Daniel scooped me up too. "Short," I followed as he lifted me up. I grabbed him around his neck to hang on, and my head was squished against his shoulder. He strutted around in a circle before he let me down. I could feel that my face was the color of borscht, and I flamed with excitement and embarrassment, and couldn't stop laughing from both joy and nervousness. "That's nothing, man." David crouched like a weightlifter while he was still holding Shannon, and lifted her as high as high as his shoulders. It was exciting and crazy. Daniel and David showing each other how strong they were, first picking up Shannon and then me, then putting us down, then picking us up, and lifting us higher as if Shannon and I were weights. After a few times, however, Daniel picked me up. I was easily putting my arms around his neck. I loved being his pretend weight, even though Shannon and I were both yelling for them to put us down. We didn't really mean it. Shannon is a strong girl, and if she didn't like being lifted up and held by David, there was no way it would be happening. I couldn't believe it, but I began to relax in Daniel's arms, and I laughed each time as he slowly turned in a circle. Then Shannon and I tried to pick them up, and it was hilarious. Every time we tried to grab them, they did a wrestling moves on us, and we ended up on the grass in a big heap, like a litter of playful puppies. I couldn't remember a time in my life that had been so fun and so exciting. We lay in the grass laughing, and then David and Daniel jumped up and picked up Shannon and me again. But this time when we turned around, as my face was pressed against Daniel's shoulder, I saw something coming towards school that made me tremble with fear. Daniel, please, put me down. My voice cracked as my breath caught in my throat. But Daniel didn't hear. Everyone was shouting and laughing, and he lifted me up even more as the lime green cab came to a halt in front of the school. The door slammed. Papa stood like a huge bull in his dark leather jacket and flung open the black back door of the cab. Maya Alevzova! His voice roared as he crossed the parking lot. He pointed at me the way one might identify a criminal. Ene Suda! He shouted in Russian. Come here! Daniel dropped me, and I ran to the cab, whimpering and trembling inside, like a dog caught stealing chickens. Papa didn't speak. His silence filled every corner of the cab like a dark cloud, slowly suffocating me with its poisonous rage. Papa's neck was a deep red, and the skin on the back of my hands tingled with fear. I lay my head against the back of the seat and closed my eyes, squeezing them shut, and took myself far away until I was safe on the bars at the beautiful gymnastics meet in the sky. I swung back and forth, higher and higher. Then I released and flew to the next bar through fluffy white clouds as soft as goose feathers, while the air around me was sweet and warm, and my teammates cheered for me, their voices filled with love. We screeched to a stop in front of our building. My head slammed against the back seat. When I struggled from the taxi, it was as though I was falling from the bars, crashing down onto the street where I splintered into a million pieces. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't get back on the bars anymore. And then I could stop, but any more than I could stop the hot tears that spilled from my eyes. Papa roared in front of me, and as he charged towards the door in his glistening dark leather jacket, he again seemed transformed to a creature that was half man and half bull. Gulnara! He flung open the door, shouting for Mama, his voice filled with anger and blame. Why are you here? Why are you here? What has happened, Abek? Mama came from the kitchen as Nurzan darted to the doorway and peeked around like a little squirrel. I closed the front door and leaned against it with my wet palms flat against the wood, like a prisoner about to be shot. Is this how you raise your daughter? Is this what you teach her? Lessons to be a toy for American boys? Papa spat out the words. The color rose in Mama's face like a flame turned up on the stove. She spun towards me, her eyes flashing. What have you done? Your daughter was in the arms of an American boy. Mama looked shocked. When? How can this be? She stammered. Outside the school as I drove by. I found them at this. Don't you teach her anything? Who let her stay after school? Who gives her permission for these things? You are the one, Abek. If you left it to me, she would come home every day. She would not have this permission. Mama and Papa didn't notice that I went to the bathroom and locked the door. I hurled by the sink and heard their angry voices rise and fall like the pounding of thunder. And then I heard a bang so fierce that the light bulb hanging from the ceiling swayed back and forth. Papa slamming the front door. Then I heard the engine of the cab and the sharp squeal of the tires as he sped away. I imagined running away, but I would run like the wind behind the mini-mart, sailing past the easy dry cleaners, past the bus stop, into an easy gallop through the crosswalk, As I ran, each traffic light would turn green